that there are forces at work around the world whose agenda is to somehow communicate to you that you're just not enough. That you're not pretty enough, handsome enough, successful enough, thin enough, buff enough, rich enough, worthy enough. That it exposes certain things that instills insecurity and fear in your life. There are times I'll watch TV and I'll say, oh my goodness, I need that. There's been extensive research done that for teenagers like you, there's 5 things that media tries to expose in our insecurity. I'll share them with you. It's wealth, success, popularity, appearance, and fear. And it's not just teenagers, it's probably adults as well. These are the things that they pick on to somehow expose our insecurities, where we say, man, I need more of this. I'm not going to mention his name, because they might sue me. I'm being very serious. But I will quote you the CEO of a very, very prominent company whose audience is just teenagers and kids. And in one of his talks, he says this, quote, "Our company, we have no obligation to make art. We have no obligation to make history. We have no obligation to make a statement. We are here to make money." And that's the agenda. To make us feel that somehow we're just not enough. That you may have heard these things, but the gospel of Jesus gives us a different word. One of my daughters, some time ago, she was having her 8th birthday party. And so she wanted to invite her friends, her girlfriends, over to the house. So my wife and I reluctantly said, yes, we'll do it. And so she invites, I think, 8 or 9 of her friends from school, 8 or 9 girlfriends from their school. And so my wife goes to bed a little earlier than I do. So she went to bed around 10. And so she says, Eugene, it's your responsibility to check in on them until we told them midnight is the curfew. So, like a wise parent, I'm not trying to sound or appear too overwhelming, so I try to come in a little bit, make sure they weren't doing some crazy things or listening to Justin Bieber or whatever it might be. I'm not coming in and out and trying to clean up all along, listening to conversation. Around 11 o'clock, the movie they were watching was done. I was walking down. And as I was walking down, I began to hear their conversation. And it's not that I wanted to basically overhear or intrude on their privacy. But as I walked down, some of the stuff that they said just gripped my heart that I stopped. And I stood in the stairwell going downstairs and I just listened. And as I listened, I could not believe my ears. That including my daughter, who I so passionately love. And these girls, they were going around sharing with each other how much weight they should lose. Eight years old. Really? %78% of girls, according to this research, hate their bodies by the age of 15. 65% have an eating disorder. 17% cut themselves. The number of cosmetic surgeries to women before the ages of 17 have increased sixfold between 1987 and 2007. That is disgusting. Why? Because men, women, you have heard that you're not enough. And the church, the gospel, Jesus declares that while, because of sin, we may not be enough in our lowest state, Jesus goes to the cross for us to demonstrate his utmost passion for you and I was speaking at a youth conference. I don't speak at too many youth conferences. And you could probably tell. I'm not as, hip as Brent, the language he speaks. But I was speaking at the last youth conference I spoke at was in a state called Texas in the U.S. And I spoke at this place, and as I preached the last sermon, as we'll do tonight, I invited the worship team to come up, and as they were closing us in a song, I just asked all of our pastors and counselors to come forward, and if anybody wanted to come up for prayer, that they can do so. And so we did that, and I was standing up there, and these two young girls began to walk up, but kind of in an awkward way. And as these two girls approached me closer, I realized that one of them was crying so profusely that she could not walk straight. They come up to the front. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting, but she's crying so profusely she can't control her words. Not lying. 5 minutes I'm waiting. She's just crying. Her friend tugging at her, tapping on her back. Tell him it's okay. Tell him. I have no idea what's going on. Finally, in her broken English, because she's just crying through these words, she says, Pastor Eugene, I haven't told anybody except my friend and now you. The music is loud, it's dark. So she says, can you pray for me? So I said, how can I pray for you? Her hands are like this. And then she raises her sleeves. And as she raises her sleeves, now, I've seen cutting before. I have never seen anything like what she showed. And she's just crying, and you can see her tears fall on her arms. And she says, again, as she's fighting through her tears, she says, with my own fingers and thumbs, I've been cutting myself. And I saw lines and lines and lines. And this is what she said. I'll never forget this. I don't remember everything that she said because I had a hard time hearing through her tears and through the music. But one thing that I heard again and again is her saying, I hate myself. 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 And she kept saying this over and over and over again. And I wish I had something profound to say, but the only words that I could tell her in response to every time she said, I hate myself, I simply replied, God loves you. God loves you. God loves you. God loves you. And it was later that night, after the music faded, We chatted a little bit together. She was sharing how her whole life she has always felt not enough. She couldn't please her parents, couldn't please people's perceptions of what beauty was. Oh. Man, I wish you could see the beauty of this story. The beauty of this story is this woman coming in, having hated herself for so long, because everybody hated her. And Jesus says, I see past what people have judged you about. And what I see beyond people's judgment and perception, O daughter, rise up. O son, O child, you rise up because God loves you. I'm going to close soon. This whole sermon was my attempt to say a word over your life. To sing possibly a different song than what you may have heard. That you may have heard somehow, but not enough. And Jesus declares, Jesus is enough. In our weakness, He is enough. In our weakness, He is our sufficiency. He is enough. I want to invite the worship team to come up.